Have I seen a single sporting game in the last 2 or 3 seasons? Absolutely not. Have I seen Ruben Amorim's first interview as Manchester United manager? Yes, about 24 times. We've officially entered a new era at Manchester United that does not involve Erik ten Hag, and just like that person that can't let go of their toxic ex, I'm ready to get hurt again. There was one particular word that stood out to me in that entire interview, and that was the magic word identity. Ruben Amorim's first goal at Manchester United is to have an identity and to build an identity from day one. Music to my ears. Now, if you know me, I'm a big Erik ten Hag hater. Unfortunately, things didn't work out. I'm grateful for the trophies, but there were certain things that just were not happening, and a certain playing style and identity on the pitch was the biggest factor for me. I mean, it's one thing if your team doesn't win matches, but to do it in a manner that just makes you want to not watch football is something completely different. So we're just under a week away from Ruben Amorim's first match as Manchester United manager. It's going to be an away game in the Premier League against Ipswich Town. And what better way to prepare for this by looking at the existing squad of players, seeing which players the manager should be looking to sell, keep, and loan. As you can see, guys, we've got a traditional tier list in front of us, 29 Manchester United players. These are the players that are listed on transfer markets. I simply just went with this list. We might be missing a few under 21s or under 18s, but it's all good. These are the main guys, right? We've got 3 tiers: keep, sell, loan. Because of my OCD, we are going to start from the back, from the goalkeeper, and work our way up to the forwards. So the first player is actually an Erik ten Hag signing, right? That is going to be Andre Onana. I know he didn't have the best start his Manchester United career last season, especially some of those matches in the Champions League, but it's going to be a keep, right? I think this one is clear-cut and obvious. We have seen improvement this season, and also taking into account Ruben Amorim's system where he likes to have a back 3, which we'll kind of speak about in more detail throughout this video. He is a player that is comfortable on the ball, right? He's played at Ajax, he's played at Inter Milan, decent goalkeeper, and in all honesty, I think he can really improve this season. So the first one's very straightforward. That's going to be a keep, right? In all honesty, all the goalkeepers are going to be pretty easy. The next one, Alte Bayande. I'm not even entirely sure how to pronounce his name. Please forgive me. Haven't seen much of him, in all honesty, right? But we need to have a second goalkeeper. I think he's definitely a keep, and we can potentially look at playing him in more cup competitions, maybe give him game time, give him experience. And yeah, we just essentially need him, right? Then also Tom Heaton. It is very normal for Premier League clubs and clubs in any league really to have 3 goalkeepers at all times. This is because a lot of unforeseen things can happen, and you do not want to be without a strong keeper at any point, and you don't want to put too much pressure on one singular goalkeeper. And for that reason, Tom Heaton is simply going to be a keep as well. Right, so I'm just going to put him in the keep column. Now, moving on to the interesting part for me, and that is going to be the centre backs. As I just mentioned, Ruben Amorim normally has a 3 at the back system, right? So we're looking at a 3-4-3 at Manchester United. As far as I'm aware, he's played a 3 at the back system during his time at Sporting Lisbon. I read an article or a quote where he actually lost his first 2 matches as a manager. He apparently said that if he loses the 3rd match, he's going to retire from football management. He then tried 3 at the back, and since then, it's been a hit. So, yeah, we've got quite a list of centre-backs to choose from, right? The main one for me that I think will do quite well, that's going to be Matthijs de Ligt, right? Another former Ajax player, played for Bayern Munich, played for Juventus, if I remember correctly. Very decent defender, and I think, I don't know, maybe we signed him for Ruben Amorim. It would make sense that he was an Erik ten Hag signing given the Ajax connection and as well as the Bayern Munich connection. But I don't know, man. Given the fact that he is capable of playing a 3 at the back, he could be seen as a Amorim signing, right? Very straightforward. I think he's going to be a keep. And also, I think he'll be the centre back in that back 3. Then moving on to another Erik ten Hag signing, one of the better ones and probably my favorite one. That is going to be Lisandro Martinez. Obviously, one of our best centre-backs as well, despite the height, despite what people have said. He's proven himself at these last 2 seasons with Manchester United. And in all honesty, I see him playing on the left. Before Ten Hag left, I could see him playing in midfield in kind of a defensive role. But given the fact that we are going to have a 3 at the back system, I think he's perfectly suited to the left-hand side of that 3-back pairing. And yeah, that's essentially going to be a keep. Then moving on to Harry Maguire. Look, not necessarily the best centre-back that we have, but a player that's kind of been valuable over the last few seasons, right? In terms of squad rotation, important matches. There's no doubt that Harry Maguire is a good defender, despite all of the memes, despite the things that I've said as well. And he could play for quite a number of Premier League squads and make a massive difference. For that reason, he's going to simply be a keep, a good squad rotation player, but I don't necessarily see him being the third centre-back in this 3-back. Then a very interesting case with Victor Lindelof, who actually played with Ruben Amorim at Sporting, or I think it was Benfica. Very interesting, right? We have to remember that our manager is only 39 years old, 38 years old. Really crazy if you think about it, but in all honesty, we definitely need to keep him. He is going to be, I do not think, the third centre-back in this back 3, but a very important player should one of the centre-backs be injured at any point throughout the season. I think we definitely keep him, right? Then Johnny Evans, right? Despite the good performances this season, I was not a fan when we offered him a contract after he trained with Manchester United and then we just decided to keep him for the season essentially, right? As far as I'm aware, his contract should be running out quite soon, and so we'll probably keep him as a squad player until the end of his contract. And in all honesty, he's a good player to have for squad depth for the time being, but we seriously need to move away from all of these old players, having these old signings come back, unless it's Paul Pogba. And yeah, just kind of focus on getting younger, fresher centre backs so that we can have squad depth, but I would say players with better quality, right? However, I will say we'll keep him until the end of his contract. Then, as you would expect, the third centre back in the centre back pairing, it's going to be Lenny Yoro, right? Definitely a keep. We have not really seen him this season, unfortunately, due to injury. He should be back soon. Quite a young centre-back, comes from League I don't know. Like most Manchester United fans, I'm extremely excited to see what he can do in the Premier League. There is a wealth of potential for him at Manchester United. And in all honesty, Ruben Amorim's first centre-back pairing could be Lisandro Martinez, De Ligt, and Lenny Yoro. And I think most Manchester United fans would be happy with that. Then the first problem area of the squad. Left back. Well, left back and right back, right? Very important. This is not going to be the traditional fullback setup. These are going to be wing backs. So obviously these players are going to have a shared responsibility of going forward and coming back. So defense and offense. In all honesty, I think this is the most concerning position, right? So Luke Shaw, right? Luke Shaw is a good player, but unfortunately this player cannot stay fit. There's been so many injuries over the last few seasons. He literally made one appearance at the Euro 2024, and that was in the final, which even surprised me as a United fan, right? Good player. I think he could perform well in a wing-back setup. But unfortunately, I don't know. We cannot rely on Luke Shaw. I might just put him by keep. But in all honesty, actually, you know what? No. I am going to put Luke Shaw by sell. The only issue for me is just who would buy Luke Shaw in his current state, given the fact that he hasn't played quite a lot of games. Then the next player, another Erik ten Hag signing, Tyrell Malacia. In all honesty, I cannot tell you the last game I watched this guy play. I know he's been injured for like 500 plus days. But I don't know, man. It's kind of a tricky one. I haven't seen enough from him playing for Manchester United to be able to make an informed decision on whether we should keep him, whether we should sell him. In all honesty, I think we really need to go to the market to look for a left back, and for that reason, I want to put him by Sal, man. I really do. I seriously do. I'm putting him by Sal. Right? We'll see how this changes, because obviously we need a strong starting 11. But at the moment, I just really do not like the options we have at left back. Then the final left back, and that's going to be Harry Amas, a young player. I'm not quite sure on his age. I know that apparently Erik ten Hag said something about him getting time and minutes this season. Obviously, that might not be the case anymore. Who knows, maybe Ruben Amorim would look to him and give him the opportunity. However, he is a young player, and for me, the policy when it comes to young players is to simply send them out on loan. So that is what I'm looking at. Right, on to the right backs. And once again, another Erik ten Hag signing. And this has to be his best one by far. Mazraoui has been exceptional so far for Manchester United this season. If I remember correctly, nobody has made more tackles than Mazraoui in the Premier League this season. He's been quite good going forward, coming back as well. And in all honesty, I think he's got that position on the right-hand side of the field, the right wing back tied down. There's absolutely no competition. Obviously, you could look at Diego Dallo as being a right back, but in all honesty, with Mazraoui, I think Diego Dallo would probably be pushed to the left-hand side of the field. With that being said, that is going to be a keep for sure. Then, solving our left back or our left wing back problem, we can look at Diego Dallo. Another exciting fullback player that can attack while going forward. He's got a great shot, he's got decent pace going forward, got a good cross in him, and in all honesty, I think without us buying a new left back, the left hand side is completely his. And for me, he's going to be an easy keep. Not very simple. So at this moment in time, I can kind of see Manchester United lining up with Andre Onana, Martinez, De Ligt, Lenny Yoro, and the wing backs, of course, being Diego Dallo and Mazraoui. Moving on to centre defensive midfield, right? Or essentially the pivot in the middle of the field. This is also going to be an interesting one given the options that we have. You'll notice that we're going to have to make sacrifices somewhere in the starting 11 because we cannot accommodate everybody. Right, so the next two players are quite simple for me. I believe it is Collier and Daniel Gore. Again, young players. I think Collier made an appearance against Liverpool earlier this season. I could be mistaken. However, with young players and given the other squad players that we have, it's going to be very straightforward for me. We simply have to send these guys out on loan, right? Championship clubs, perhaps a different league. I'm just going to pop both of them at loan, right? Then, so this is an interesting one and perhaps it could be controversial. I know that Casemiro normally splits the Manchester United fan base into two. Those that rate him and those that think that he's kind of past it and kind of thinks that we should ship him off, right? In all honesty, I'm not quite sure on which end of the fence I find myself on. I know that his performances have not been great this season, and that performance against Liverpool earlier this season was absolutely shambolic. But then again, how much is Erik ten Hag to be blamed for Casemiro's performances as well as other players? I would say my initial feeling is to sell Casemiro, right? The issue is, again, like Luke Shaw, who would be buying Casemiro? Given his age, given the amount of money that he's earning at Manchester United, would he want to go to another club? And would another club be able to match his salary expectation? With that said, as much as I want to put him by sell, I'm going to put him by keep. Right? Again, we then have squad depth and we can essentially have a few players to choose from. Next up, probably the player that is most excited to work with Ruben Amorim because he's worked with him before, Manuel Ugarte. So Ugarte played for Sporting under Ruben Amorim a few seasons ago, was sold to PSG for 50 million. So obviously he was quite effective for Sporting. Logically, he is the player that should be able to slot into this new system quite seamlessly, right? With that being said, he's definitely going to be a keep. And at this point, I am going to say that he's one of the starting midfielders in the pivot in the middle of the field. Moving on to Christian Eriksen. Look, this guy, Christian Eriksen, I rate you, good footballer, but unfortunately dead weight, in all honesty, right? We can't really loan him, we can't really sell him. I would probably say we can go in and keep him, but I don't know. Should an offer come in, we should definitely look at exercising that. Otherwise, he's more than welcome to leave at the end of his current contract. Then our golden boy, our star boy, our poster boy, our generational talent, Kobbie Mainoo. And this is where people, I don't know, might disagree. Well, actually, no, I don't think people should disagree, but in all honesty, he's a keep. And not only is he a keep, but he's a starting player. That pivot in the middle of the field, I can see it being Manuel Ugarte and Kobbie Mainoo. Honestly, Ugarte being the more defensive-sided player and Kobbie Mainoo having that ability to be defensive as a midfielder, but also that flair going forward, being creative. I don't know, man. This guy, Again, he's like, what, 19? He was 18 when he started. He's like 19, between 19 and 20. But the guy plays like someone that's 26. He's absolutely exceptional. He's exciting. He made the England squad for Euro 2024. And I don't know, man, the future's bright with Kobe Mainoo in Manchester United. Then Mason Mount. Unfortunately, one of the more disappointing signings at the moment. It's kind of strange that Mason Mount is still the number 7 at Manchester United. But in all honesty, injuries has made things quite difficult for him. He's definitely going to be a keep. As much as I would say we could potentially sell him, cut our losses, I don't think it makes sense to sell him, right? So we can essentially keep Mason Mount. Hopefully he can start to pick up form, and this can be a fresh start for him under Amorim. Our captain. So this is now where we might have a bit of controversy and some people might disagree with me. For context, for me to understand Ruben Amorim's system, I looked at, I believe the YouTuber's name is James Lawrence. He's a UK-based football YouTuber. I'll link him down below so you guys can see who I'm talking about. He's quite big. But he's essentially said that in Amorim's system, the front three, on the left-hand side, the player is not necessarily a traditional winger, but it is someone who is more creative, more control, is able to work in tight spaces, make good passes, create chances, etc. And for me, that is Bruno Fernandes. Again, another Sporting player, someone that comes from Sporting, and in all honesty, it looks like a match made in heaven, right? We've got Portuguese players, we've got players that come from Sporting, we've got a Sporting manager, and normally I am hoping that things continue to go well as they have between Manchester United and Sporting in the past, right? So at the moment, looking at the starting 11, I'm definitely going to say Bruno Fernandes should be on the left-hand side in an attacking role. Please, let's alleviate him from any defensive duties, give this guy the freedom. I'm not quite sure how he'll handle playing on the left-hand side, but I'm willing to give it a chance, right? And I'm sure Ruben Amorim will potentially see the potential in Bruno Fernandes playing in that role. Another player that's kind of been very polarizing for Manchester United fans lately is going to be Alejandro Garnacho, right? Young player, great work ethic. Honestly, I like him. Right? I know he idolizes Cristiano Ronaldo, but completely falls short of being anything like Cristiano Ronaldo. But the guy's still young, right? The guy still has to develop and grow as a player, and hopefully with a more competent manager, he can get the development that he needs. I don't necessarily see how he's going to start in this team at the moment. Going back to James Lawrence, I think he actually mentioned that he would like to see, or he sees the potential for Alejandro Garnacho to play as a left wing back, right? To kind of have a defensive and an attacking role. In all honesty, I think, let's keep him at a attacking player. Definitely going to be a keep for me. Then, Anthony, right? Look, no hard feelings, Anthony, but dude, your dad's gone. Yeah, there's not much I can say. I'm not a huge fan. I don't want to disrespect him as a professional, but just, I don't know. It didn't work out, right? In all honesty, it didn't work out. Obviously, he looked like he performed quite well in the Eredivisie at Ajax, but the Premier League he just hasn't adapted well to the Premier League, right? And looking at the way that Amorim is going to set up, as well as the players that we have in those potential roles, I just don't see a place for Anthony. And in all honesty, this is not a type of player that we loan because we're not really going to keep him. And for me, that is going to be an easy sell. So yeah, sorry, man. Next up, a player that has been set free. A player that, for some reason, didn't get the opportunities under Erik ten Hag. Whenever this guy looked like he played well, he looked like one of the best players on the pitch, Erik ten Hag would take him off or simply not play him. Now we've seen him play under Ruud van Nistelrooy as the interim manager. We've seen him score 2 goals in the Europa League. We've seen him perform well. We've seen him kind of grow in confidence. If you guys remember, there was some controversy on Twitter a few months ago where, a few tweets were kind of suggesting that he's unhappy. In all honesty, I would not have blamed him if he asked to leave Manchester United in January or thereafter, because the amount of disrespect that Erik ten Hag showed Amad Diallo is just insane. It's absolutely insane. A player of that quality should never be treated like that. With that being said, how does he fit into Ruben Amorim's system? I'm not 100% sure. He really does well on the right wing, and in all honesty, maybe he could make the right wing his. We'll obviously have to see how that goes, but I definitely would love to see a lot of minutes under Ruben Amorim for the rest of the season. So that for me is going to be an easy keep. Then I believe this is Ethan Wheatley. Again, I'm not really a guy that kind of pays a lot of attention to the under 18s or under 21s. That's not really my thing, in all honesty. Another young player, I am simply going to say let's send him out on loan, especially given the amount of attackers that we have at our disposal. So yeah, I'm going to say we're going to send him out on loan. Then, again, another polarizing player. It seems all Manchester United players have been polarizing for the fan base of late, but it's going to be Marcus Rashford. Twitter has been disrespecting this guy, comparing him to Nani and all these things, right? Look, I understand sometimes Rashford has had issues with work ethic, with performance on the pitch. His demeanor looked kind of lackluster. Again, how much of that is Erik ten Hag, how much of that is the player, right? Without a doubt, Marcus Rashford is an extremely talented player, and he's shown what he can do at Manchester United, especially in that season when I think he got like 30 goal contributions. I don't know the exact split between goals and assists, but the guy's good, right? And I actually saw a few tweets in the week that suggested that Amorim is willing to give him the number 9 spot to kind of see how he performs. However, I would not necessarily put Marcus Rashford at number 9. As you know, he kind of enjoys playing on the left wing, and that's kind of tricky because now, do we play Bruno Fernandes there, which would kind of be a more, interchangeable player profile between the player that Ruben Amorim had at Sporting versus Rashford, who's naturally played for Manchester United on the left wing and has performed extremely well at times. On to the final two players, and guys, this should be as straightforward for you as it is for me. This essentially is going to determine who is going to be our main striker this season and essentially make that number 9 role their own. Now, I'm all for competition, right? But in all honesty, Joshua Zirkzee, I am not moved. I am absolutely not moved. At this point, this guy could leave in January. I would take an injured Rasmus Højlund over Joshua Zirkzee any day. And with that being said, Rasmus Højlund, you are going to be a keep. You are going to be our starting number 9. It might be controversial, but Joshua Zirkzee, I don't know, buddy. From what I've seen so far, we could even sell you. Yeah. We could literally sell you. In all honesty. And there you have it, guys. That's going to be my tier list for who Ruben Amorim should be looking to keep, sell, and loan at Manchester United. Let me know what you guys think down below with my selection of players as well as the starting 11 that I mentioned. Do you think there's a few players that I kept that you would sell, and vice versa? Most importantly, leave your prediction down below on where you think Ruben Amorim and Manchester United will finish in the Premier League this season. I'll catch you guys in the next one.